G'day, everyone, and welcome to another wonderful episode of the Joey Wiggle Experience. And boy, do we have a guest with you today. He has been a frequent collaborator on my channel, my fan dubs, and has been a good friend since. Over the past 4 years, please welcome to the podcast the magnificent, or simply known as SG DVD Rip. G'day, SG. Welcome to the show.
Oh well, here it is, the Joey Wiggle experience. Joey, it's such an honor to be back with you again after all this time. I know it's been a while, but great to have you here and great to see you again.
Yeah, it's great to hear you again, and also in podcast form. You know, we've chatted a lot about a lot of things, particularly when it comes to fan dubs. And for those who don't know, SG has been a frequent, or actually a very significant help in these fan dub productions. He is the one who helps co-assist with me. So particularly when we have to do line runs or we need to get submissions in, he'll always be my right-hand man in that scenario, and he always helps me out anytime I'm stuck on trying to figure out who needs to do which line. But he just makes sure, basically, he just helps me make sure that everything's all right, so it's not too stressful on me. I hope that's the right way to put it, SG.
Well, indeed, that would be the right way, and I don't think I could have described it any better myself. So thanks on that, buddy.
Yeah, no worries. And also, it's a very interesting history that we've had over the past couple of years. So, do you remember the first time that you heard about me and when you decided to become part of my fan dubs?
Well, I gotta say, the first time I did actually hear about you wasn't actually through the initial fan dub announcement for the Wiggles movie, which I know we'll talk about it sooner or later. But well, the first time, well, believe it or not, I guess it's just pretty much through the things that you've uploaded beforehand. I know you've done, mock Disney VHS openings to, the Wiggles and other franchises as well. Like, let's say if they
Yeah,
were produced by Disney, all these kind of things. But slowly, that's
very
when,
basic too. Yeah,
yeah, but eventually that's when you got into the more exciting stuff that kind of got me to start getting hooked onto your channel, especially with uploads of rare albums and things like that. I think some of the biggest things that got me into there were the Holy Doolies, which I know
yeah,
was a different other franchise. I know that's something a lot of Wiggles fans would kind of like want to argue that that's a cheap copy and everything, but less on less on that.
yeah.
But yeah, and also the Holy Doolies, I think that also got me, introduced to other ABC for Kids artists. I think the most notable one was George Spartles, which I've heard about, and slowly I
Oh,
was like
George
getting
Spartels. Yeah, yeah.
interested into that stuff. I mean, there's just so many, underrated things that otherwise I wouldn't have had much of the opportunity to grow up with my country that thanks to your channel I kind of just discovered. So I think that's where I got to be introduced to your channel, and then of course the fandom news came along, and that's when I was like, oh my god, someone's actually doing this. Like this is insane. Like, oh man, I really wanted to be a part of it. Like, look at it initially. Like, I was yeah, but looking at when you first posted the fandom announcement that you were gonna do the Wiggles movie, I was like, oh man, someone's actually gonna do this. Like, because let me just say this, and I think you may have already been aware of this, but back then, there was another YouTuber that wanted, to do a their
Thomas
own fandom
Condon. Yeah,
version.
we've spoken
Yes,
about the guy.
Thomas
Yeah,
Condon. I remember that even after
2014,
all these
2014.
years.
Yeah.
But Thomas, well, he wanted to do his own fandom of the Wiggles movie, and he was asking all sorts of YouTubers like to audition. And I actually remember being there when that video was announced. And initially, I
Me
wanted to
too.
audition.
Yeah.
I actually initially wanted to audition for Anthony the
Same
Blue
here.
Wiggle, Henry the Octopus, and Wags the Dog initially, but for some reason he just kind of left YouTube out of nowhere. Like, he did make an announcement video saying that he was going to, but that also left me wondering, like, what's gonna happen to the fate of the project? Like, what's gonna happen? And so, with no news and updates and nothing else coming out ever since he left, I was like, okay, so I guess that's it. Just cancel, and I'm just kind of gonna move on. That was until when all of a sudden, like, someone else from you decided, okay, I think we're gonna revive this project once more. Let's let's do it again. Let's go for it. And I thought of like, hey, I was like, man, someone's gonna give it a try, and let's see what I can do this time.
It's interesting because it's like because I really remembered that moment too, and it was really strange when he disappeared from YouTube, and I guess I was a little bit disappointed too because it's like, like you said, I mean, I even thought, what's going to be the fate of it? Are we even going to get this again? And I think was another reason, or was part of the reason why I was inspired. Because particularly when it was the 30th anniversary of the Wiggles, everyone's celebrating the 30th anniversary. It's all, it's a big celebration. And also, it's a very long time, and it's a great time to celebrate the Wiggles as a whole in 2021.
Indeed.
But it was just really like, um, it was just honestly trying to figure out what's the best way to say thanks for 30 years of wiggling and for inspiring generations of children and adults, like both in Australia and all over the world. And I thought, what the best way to do it is by doing a fan dub of their only full-length feature film, one that I used to watch all the time as a kid, still love to this day, the Wiggles movie. I just knew it was that perfect. I knew, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send out invites, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to recreate every voice in the film, the scene, the acting, and we're going to make this into a complete redub of the Wiggles movie. And I think, honestly, and honestly, I'm just going to say it now, a part of this, my inspiration for the fan dub wouldn't be possible without Thomas Condon. So I don't know if he's on YouTube still. I mean, he's probably not because his channel was terminated. But if he ever hears this, I want him to know that he was the reason why I wanted to. He was part of the reason actually why I wanted to make the Wiggles movie fan dub, just because I remembered that experience and I wanted to make sure that it happened.
Yeah, he's special credit and special mention to him, and really again thanks to you too for helping, for really giving this project a second chance online as well, especially at the right timing, because even though we weren't, even though the production of it was could have been like could have been a little bit more, oh man, how do I put it, but like
Quicker,
we
it's
didn't
okay. It could
so
have been
given
quicker,
to the
but yeah,
production, but yeah, I'm so glad to like eventually see that someone was like interested to pick up this project, and I was like, man, I really gotta hop onto that again. I really gotta see what I can showcase this time. But obviously, this time around, when I've like kind of looking through the details and picking my roles, I was like thinking to myself, like, what can I do this time? Like, and now that so many years has passed, and voice puberty happens, I was like thinking, what's are some roles that I can do better now that otherwise I can't do back then? Because again, like I said, I when I first saw Thomas's announcement, suggested doing I suggested doing Anthony, Henry the Octopus, and Rex the Dog, and I even sent my auditions over to his email. And yeah, I got to say, looking back now, only Henry has not aged like milk. He has not. Yep.
Oh, Henry.
Yeah.
Well, Henry's actually quite a. It's an interesting voice, and also, what made you? And I guess I was about to ask what made you inspired to audition for Henry the Octopus, but then I realized, I get it. It's because you wanted to do it for the Thomas Condon fan dub, and then you remembered that moment, and I guess you wanted to try again for this fan dub.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a reason, but at the same time, the reason I kind of had to drop like Anthony and Rex was kind of thinking to myself like I could have done Rex, but the way that I like pronounce like a barking right now is like it's so much different from what I could try to replicate. And even then, with so many iterations of the voice, I was like thinking, what's a good bark and what would be the most acceptable bark for the only for the technically only non-speaking Wiggles friend out there. I was like thinking, like I could just give you an idea of like how my wax kind of sounded like, just a very rough, no pun intended, rough personal impression. Ruff, 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 something like that. I could,
It's not
or
bad.
I could
Yeah.
just, or well, or maybe there was a certain time that Wax and Dog could talk. I could kind of imitate the way he was speaking. G'day, everybody. Something like that.
Yeah, you mean the Mick Conway version?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the mid comedy talking voice. I suppose it's just something about Wax suddenly talking all of a sudden that inspires this charm. Like, you didn't see this coming, but in a way it just works. And Mick, I don't know, he's a brilliant genius for making that, you know, for
He
making
is,
that
and he's a
visuals
very
work.
talented. He's very talented as well. Like he's a very talented individual. I think oh, what was I going to say? I think the best Wags. I mean, I guess Mix is iconic, but when it comes to the character not talking, I would say Jeff has it was it Jeff as Wags or was it Paul Paddock?
Oh, well, a mix of them. Jeff between Jeff and Paul Paddock, but to me, I think well, I sadly am probably gonna say it's not neither, but Mick kills it whether he's doing it with the voice or without the voice, in my opinion. But no disrespect to Jeff and Paddy themselves. They are both talented legends, and well, they've done wax for so many projects and so many things, and they really do deserve their credit when credit is due.
Yeah. credit due actually, yeah, credit to
Yeah,
Mick. And yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we you know, we've had a really good journey as well on YouTube when you think about it. I mean, compared to where we were 5 years ago, like for my channel 5 years ago, I couldn't have imagined that I would be here doing a podcast. I went from doing, like you said, Disney version videos, trying to replicate them and make it look like what the Wiggles would look like if they were released by Disney on VHS in Australia and the UK and the US. And it's all that kind of
yeah,
basic YouTube algorithm sort of thing, trying to grab attention. But then honestly, I think what really changed was when I added the full albums uploads, when I uploaded the albums, like the first one being the ABC for Kids greatest hits, more greatest hits, the one from 92, and then the Hooly Doolies, and I think everything changed after the Hooly Doolies. It was like, okay. And then Jake Sadler got in touch with me, and I think everything changed from that point on. So that was yeah, that's how I became known as the ABC for Kids full albums dude. And then eventually the fan dub guy. I'm
yeah.
really the transitions is astounding. Didn't think that I've come this far on my journey, and it's only been like what 4 or 5 years, 5 years actually.
Oh
Yeah,
man, if you can even imagine, like time is really
another
flying
5 years
by.
from now, I have no idea. I'm just like I'm
Well, who
really
knows?
who
Things are
knows
changing.
exactly. It's
Yeah,
very exciting, and this yeah, and anyway, so for you, you ended up being cast as Henry the Octopus in
that's
the
right.
fan dub, in the Wiggles movie fan dub.
Yep.
So what was that like for you, and what have you taken from that experience?
Well, it's a very interesting to say the least because what I wanted for like a take of Henry that I wasn't actually sure was actually gonna make the production because I know many Wiggles fans out there they love Jeff as the voice of Henry, but me personally I actually prefer Paddy as the voice of Henry. Like again, no disrespect to Jeff and no disrespect to him. Like he was the one that really laid the foundations, but if I have to be a bit honest, the way that I look at his voice is like if you kind of close your eyes you almost couldn't tell who's who between normal Jeff and Henry because it's almost identical. But Henry's just a bit more exaggerated. But whereas when it comes
It
to
is that's a really interesting way to look at it. It's really more of an exaggerated Jeff voice if it was high
yeah
pitched. Like
yeah
I'm Jeff.
yeah
That's what it is. I get it. I
like
get
kind
what
of
you mean.
yeah. But otherwise when it comes to Paul Paddock, you know him as Captain Feathersword, and you can easily tell there's a distinction between him and Henry that
Yeah.
otherwise you can pick unless if you see enough of Paddy to know his vocal range, then it wouldn't be too surprising. But just from like closing your eyes, you can easily tell like Captain Feathersword and Henry Octopus side by side, and you can easily tell like who's who. And I thought the way that he also brought Henry to life was like honestly a bit entertaining, and there was like a lot that could be done, which is why I thought I wanted to go for his take of Henry that I wasn't sure was gonna make the cut because obviously it was Jeff voicing Henry in the movie, and I know people want that as faithful as possible, but at the same time you don't want people to just see another copy of the movie. You also want to see a more unique version. Like, what would happen if someone else is like taking a different inspiration and interpretation? Because at the end of the day, we're all unique. We see the movie in a different way, and that's kind of what I wanted to give this movie a chance, if possible. So that's why when it came to voicing Henry, I thought, okay, you know what? I think it's good enough that I think, why don't I give this a shot at trying to do it in a way that if Paul Paddock was the voice of Henry in this movie, or Patty went back and did Henry's lines and was like thinking that. So I was like just playing it around. I was like looking back at the way that he performed Henry. I was like thinking, okay, so that's how he performs Henry as those lines. How would he translate to that with Henry in these lines? So I just kind of look back at everything, and I was like thinking, Jeff, as Henry, he would say, "Yeah, hi, Wiggles, what brings you here?" Something like that. And then if Paul Paddock would say that, he would be like, "Yeah, hi, Wiggles, what brings you here?" Something like that. So I was like trying to provide my own little twist on this whole situation, and hoping in a way that it would still be faithful to the story that everybody knows, if it
That's
makes sense.
interesting. You know what? I think you explaining your version of Henry is going to bring a lot of because if anyone was questioning what kind of Henry you were doing, that would probably be the answer.
Oh boy, I don't know whether or not this might get hit or anything, but the Wiggles community can be a bit of a decisive. They
Yeah.
can be a bit decisive at times, but no disrespect. I know people will always think Jeff as Henry is the best, but I'm probably one of the few that may have the debate otherwise, if you think about it. But again, no
In terms
disrespect.
of doing the voice,
But no disrespect. It's still Henry the Octopus.
it
It's
is still
still
Henry the Octopus.
still
Yeah.
a, it's still a legend.
But that's like saying when Carolyn Ferry isn't voicing Dorothy, it's still Dorothy the dinosaur.
Yeah, in a way, like
But
this.
her version's so iconic. It's like hers is what Dorothy I would expect to sound like.
Yeah, and honestly, I gotta
Maybe
agree
that's
with
because we
you.
grew up. I
Like,
don't know.
yeah, I mean, again, people are gonna make their own comparisons. People are gonna, look at the version they grew up with the most and say, yeah, yeah, that's Dorothy to me. That's my version of Dorothy the dinosaur. But every once in a while we come to expect different versions, and whether it may be whether it may be just as good as the original, or whether it's a bit different than the norm. But everyone's unique to their own interpretation in a way. But as long as it's still faithful to what the character and the personality is, then there's no harm, really.
Yeah, exactly. There is no harm. I mean, yeah, I think people need to stop getting so angry about these comparisons. I mean, obviously, no one can do everything forever. I mean, obviously, particularly
Yeah.
if that person has a life that they have to live, they can't always be there to, wiggle 24/7 for the next
Yeah.
20 years. I mean, I've said this before on my show with Isaiah. It's the fact that people got upset when the Wiggles announced a new lineup change. It's just crazy. I mean, but anyone basically who says that what's the phrase? So the Wiggles have
Nothing will
decided to
be.
make a diverse lineup, so
Yeah.
they've gone work and now they're gonna go broke, and it's like shut up. It's like it's not a big deal. It's literally targeted at preschoolers. It's if they don't mind, then why do we care? It's like people get so upset about change.
Yeah, and even then, with that growing perspective of demographics and everything, slowly they'll start getting used to seeing them as the Wiggles, and they'll just, enjoy. I mean, it also happened. I will say this. Even though I'm technically still not fond of the Emma era, I still appreciate it for what it is, and in a way, it's built its own fan base. It's built its own following as well, and
Yeah.
the first few years were a bit rough, but slowly they found their footing. And if that's the way that people love seeing her as, and the way that Wiggles are to them, that's great.
Yeah.
That's what matters really. And honestly, I gotta say, the way that I perceive looking at the introduction of the 2013 Wiggles, I was like looking at them as like, huh, this is like okay, think about it.
Very different. Yeah.
We've technically had female Wiggles in the international lineup, so I'm just gonna assume this is just it was like kind of bound to happen because again, I mean, it's been a while since we've already had guys as only Wiggles. Let's give the girls a chance. What
Yeah.
I was like thinking just my 10-year-old self was like thinking, no, yeah, I know it's gonna be sad, but I kind of welcome the new change, even though things are gonna be different. Like at least Emma in a way was like a little bit the brighter spark of all the controversy in a way, even though she did still had her own moments of debates.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's like because even if for me growing up with the OG, because I was a total OG kid growing up, absolutely loved them. But even I remember when they transitioned to Sam, and it was already when I was getting out of my wheel stage. But even I can acknowledge now that Sam really helped keep the group together, and it's like they could have stopped, but and I think he gets too much bad talk from
Yeah,
most members of the community. I'm not going to say who they are, and I know not everyone says that, but I think most people become very defensive anytime someone has a negative thing to say about the Wiggles. Not like what I mentioned, as in, I'm not complaining about the lineup. I don't care who's part of the lineup. I don't care about anything that has to do with like what's going on behind the scenes. It's like it's
yeah,
not really anyone's business, and I think the problem is that we get so upset whenever someone is targeting something that made our childhoods great.
yeah,
I'm not too sure. It's very
yeah,
it's getting deep, man.
yeah. I know,
It,
but
it's
no
but
harm. But yeah, again, I feel like even as we talk about this, but then again, things are going to change. We just have to
yeah,
understand that people can commit to the job, but it's not really gonna be forever. And even then, even if they go and you're not liking the new people, just remember there's so much of what they've done before that you can still look back on and just enjoy. Like
yeah.
they're still there in a way.
Exactly. And I think the transitioning, I think they've learned their lesson from past mistakes about how to transition properly. And I think they'll make sure to do it anytime this kind of thing happens again in the future when someone needs to leave. I know they'll do it properly. Like obviously there's going to be a day when Anthony stops too. I mean, he's in his 60s now, but
Yeah.
that day will come. Everyone's day comes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I feel like the Wiggles have become so powerful as the brand that they are. They literally went from a band to a brand. Like that's literally what they
Yeah.
are now. It's they've become so powerful in their own way that they could literally survive long enough on their own now without the ABC and all that kind of stuff. Because it's
Yeah.
interesting because it's like they were really the first big act from the ABC for Kids label to actually go international because they was getting so popular and they were turned down from the ABC TV television from having a show unless they made some drastic changes, and it's like
Yeah. Which is insane because
and they were
ABC
very
was.
independent. They were very
Yeah.
independent.
Yeah, but even then, with ABC turning down their offers, like you guys technically in a way helped to raise them to where they are today and kickstarted their career. So what's going on? Well, what's the creative differences? It's just like with that television pilot, it's just like I don't know how things didn't seem to connect, but to see that the Wiggles, they knew what they were doing and they know how to do it, and in a way, in a direction they still know how to. It's impressive, like it really is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what made them really stand out is because they were becoming so popular that they could do very well on their own than they would with the ABC. But obviously, they stayed with the. You know what? That's the thing that's crazy. It's like they could have left after all of that, but they chose to stay with them because they knew that their image was helping the ABC as a whole. Like they were the most popular group to come out of the ABC up until Bluey.
Oh man,
and
Bluey.
yeah,
That's one of the bigger juggernauts right now. I gotta tell
absolutely.
you. it's amazing to see how much that grew. I gotta and yeah, talking about Bluey, I gotta be honest. When I first saw images and like things about Bluey coming out, my mind just initially thought that was just like a Peppa Pig ripoff. No disrespect, but the family, but
But it's
looking at
just
the
a better
hierarchy
version
and
of
the
Peppa Pig.
design that it was, I thought this was just a ripoff of Peppa Pig until I was convinced by people and saw reviews of people actually saying this is way better than that. Give it a shot. And
Yeah,
so I
way
did,
better, honestly.
and now I actually see what people are talking about, and I completely wholeheartedly agree. Bluey is one of the best things to come up for preschool television today.
Yeah.
That
And I
is
watched Peppa
currently.
Pig too, and it makes me jealous to think that that show didn't exist when Peppa Pig was around.
Yeah, yeah. Now that you mention it, it's kind
I'm
of
watching it now, so
kind
it's
of
like
weird,
it
but
doesn't matter.
yeah, I suppose maybe it's just one of those mental effects. Like I would have seen it when I was really young and didn't know much about it, but to eventually see how much it would still be around and grow, and how people now have a different opinion about it and look back in retrospect, and yeah, it's always an interesting thing, whether for better or for worse. But that's just what you gotta expect sometimes for preschool brands that we love and know.
Yeah. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, so the Wiggles movie fan dub came out.
Yeah.
It was after over a year in the making, only because I had a couple of personal delays. For rule number one: don't ever commit to a project when you're in the middle of a university course.
Oh man,
Like
I
that's
feel
what I
like
was
I'm
doing.
taking notes. I feel like I have
It's
to take notes at this point.
this is what it was all happening for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, after that happened, the fan dub released. It came out in December of 2022, and it was such a moment for me. It was just like I couldn't believe that it was finally done, but also for the community at large, because a lot of people really enjoyed it. And I think as soon as the soundtrack came out the year prior, that's when I knew, okay, I really have to commit to this project. I need to finish it because people really enjoyed it. And a lot of people tend to start projects, SG, and then they typically just like they don't get to finish them because it's too much for them. But I was really determined. I was really determined to make the
Yeah.
fan dub a reality, and I'm
And I
so
really could
happy
tell.
I did.
Indeed.
And also the love and support of the community at large as well. I know you guys were very supportive during the process and very patient, because I know it would have been frustrating, hearing
Hmm.
like, oh, it's been delayed again, oh, it's been delayed
Yeah.
again. Yeah.
Yeah. There's,
Yeah.
there would have been that. There would have been those times, but we we managed to push it through, and we really did as much as possible. And I just gotta say, because this is where I guess that's where I kind of had to step in as well, because just when we thought the project would be put on a hiatus, even I was like looking back and was like thinking, no, Thomas already cancelled. It didn't go through with Thomas's plan, and I'm not letting it happen again. So that's when, using whatever I was actually starting to gain skills with, because by then, as the production was going on, I was actually in the middle of like completing a diploma course as well, that had relationship in a way to do with what I eventually stepped in as the showrunner of the project, and using experience and everything as like, okay, you know what, Joey, take a break, take a back seat. I'm gonna help you out on this, man. And quickly with your approval and your permission, I just decided to take charge and make sure that the lines were in, everybody could get in as soon as possible, and boom, just as good as enough for you. So it kind of saved you the work of looking back on everybody, and you could just the only thing you could focus on was just editing all the dialogue together. Which I know, take it from me, I've done editing before, and it's just as tiresome as it sounds.
Yeah. It's really like, and a lot of people don't, for those watching, like, if you think what I do is easy, please understand this. I've had days and nights where I've stayed up until like as late as 3 o'clock in the morning just so I can finish a certain chapter, and then just so I don't have to think about it the next day.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I mean, editing, but it also comes with passion. That's why I enjoy these fan dubs. I make them out of passion, and that was a great moment too, because I felt like all that hard work in editing that I did for a long time paid off. And I think that was a moment for the community as well, because I think, sorry, I had to yawn then. What I was saying was that moment was something that we were waiting for years because we didn't see it on Thomas Condon's channel, and instead we got it on my YouTube channel, the Joey Wiggle channel. And I reckon a lot of people who would have remembered the Thomas Condon fan dub would have been so stoked. I can just imagine, because it's like I had that feeling when it came out, the day it came out, and I imagine many people who watched it later had that same feeling because they remembered that moment too, like yourself.
Yeah. And I gotta say, I feel like now looking back, we should have kind of recorded our cast and crew's first reactions, because I can tell you it was really something else. And to see everybody enjoy it so much was, such a pleasure to see it all come, just really to see it all come to fruition. I could still remember the initial YouTube chats going crazy over this thing, and just about everybody that wanted to see it, everybody that was looking forward to it. Man, I feel like even though it was a busy day ahead for me afterwards, but what a morning for me to stay up and enjoy all of that. It was insane.
It's crazy. I think honestly, if he hadn't terminated his channel, I would have totally invited Thomas Condon to be a part of the project. I have no idea where he is now. I mean, I don't think anyone's really seen him in the past
Yeah,
couple of years. But yeah, if he was still on YouTube, I would have totally invited him
yeah,
without a doubt. I would have done it as a way of saying thanks for bringing this up. I want you to be a part of it because you're part of the reason why I wanted to make the fan dub in the first place.
yeah, indeed, mate. Thomas, wherever you are, we're thinking of you, man. Thanks so much.
Cheers, Thomas. Anyway, so after the Wiggles movie fan dub came out, we it was actually quite. So as I mentioned, people were surprised. It got popular. Got thousands of views within a month, and it's like people really. It's just. It's one of those moments where you look at it and you're like, wow, I did that. Imagine if I did it again. So that's when I decided to come up with the space dancing fan dub. But actually, interestingly, it was because I was asking for some suggestions, and you happened to suggest it to me. Particularly, a couple of people did, but you in particular.
Well, yeah, I was.
Not to act like you
Nah,
you
it's
deserve
just.
all the credit, but it's like, yeah.
Well, I wouldn't really want to take much of the credit. Again, there are so many other people that agreed to this, and we were asking about it. It was more or less just collating everybody else's opinions together, and saying what they wanted, say what they wanted to see be the next Wiggles video to be fanned up next. And in my mind, I was like also agreeing to the people that was doing space dancing, because look at how it's presented, and just look at how it's seen. Like, it's such a unique video. Like, it's not every day that you'll see a Wiggles feature when the Wiggles are animated. It's not every day you'll see them eventually go to space and do all these wacky shenanigans, meet interesting characters, and even go. And yeah, just the whole entire experience of it, I just felt like there was a lot of potential that we could build up if we fan dubbed it. So yeah, that was the next project that got the green light, and space dancing it was.
And that what a project that was. I feel like that one stepped up in a lot of ways, and it certainly did. And yeah, that came out about 6 months after the Wiggles movie found up, and yeah, everyone enjoyed that too.
Yeah, I gotta say, and the people that were involved around this time, they were there was so much more people involved around it. The new talents, I feel like part of it is thanks to our movie fandom that otherwise just got the attention, because the people that we had this time around was just putting in even more than, in my personal opinion, they put in even more than the movie fandom, and there was just so much that they could offer, so much beauty and so much talent, and just so much raw passion that they had for the Wiggles. Even so much so that I just, it's one of those few specials that I really love looking back, over and again, because of this joint fan community that we just kind of built a lot more stronger with each fandom as they went by as well. And it really speaks for itself when you listen back to the Space Dancing fandom. Like, you wouldn't, like, it's so incredible, turn after turn. And it was like, it really sounds so amazing looking
It
back
did.
at it.
It's really, and like I said, it's really an improvement to to where the first fan dub was, because most people's audios, they were there. I mean, they weren't terrible, but you can tell that there was a bit of offness. But that's totally fine. I
Yeah,
mean, I think honestly, the Space Dancing one was an improvement in some ways because some people matured from the last time they did the role. I feel like they somehow did it with more personality, and the audios and the mics were definitely an improvement. And then came along the Cold Spaghetti Western fan dub
yeah,
last year, the
just last
most
year.
recent Wiggles fan dub, and I gotta say that one was a lot of work too.
Yeah,
Not as hard as the Wiggles movie found out, but that one was interestingly hard because it required a knowledge of Spanish, and it was
yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I know as far as cast editions, looking back, we hope to get we were like hoping that there could be a lot more, but even a lot of the new entries, we gotta be. I just have to say, and to be totally transparent and honest, and no disrespect to anyone who auditioned, but it was really hard trying to find new talents from how many we were getting back from a mix of returning cast members and everything, and not to mention people that we knew that could even speak fluent Spanish, to say the least. But at the same time, but really, even if we didn't have many new cast members, the new Manzillas, the new backing vocalists really helped. And I recognized some from the Wiggles community, and I was stoked when I actually heard that they were gonna offer a position as well. They were volunteering to be a part of it, and man, you really got to hear the soundtrack yourself to hear this. I feel like this, as far as soundtrack goes, is the strongest. Listening to it back, like this could easily rival with the originals for how good they sound
yeah.
harmonizingly well. Like that sounds so surreal.
And is it one of those things where it's like, oh my god, I keep asking this question every time to the other guys, but do you ever find yourself accidentally listening to the fan dubs more than the actual soundtracks?
Well, in a way, I admittedly feel like I've already committed myself to that, but then again,
Just because it
nothing
sounds
sounds
different,
like.
yeah.
But then again, nothing will ever beat in a way like the originals. But our fan dubs, they have a certain charm and effort that I always love coming back to it every so now and then. And the talent and like I said again, the talent and the raw passion it puts to produce these things, it's just you hear it really well in the things that they do. You really hear it in every song, and I just love it. I just feel like there's just something about them that I appreciate so much that I feel like if we were to, I don't know if they could, if it's gonna be ever possible, but what if we ever send it to the Wiggles for them to kind of blind listen to a cover, and I feel like they might be impressed. Who knows? Anything can happen. It's social
Anything
media
could happen.
nowadays.
Good they just accidentally decide that it's better than their own.
Well, who knows? Not saying I'm
Anyways.
suggesting ideas, but I thought Wiggles if they're going to be up for a social media challenge.
Oh, it'd be so funny if they couldn't tell the difference.
Wow.
Anyway, we'll see. I'm just getting a couple of ideas in my head. Actually, now we can possibly ask about you and your YouTube channel. I know I've been talking about the fandoms, but I haven't actually
Yeah.
heard about you and your journey
Sure.
on YouTube and how you got to
Yeah.
this point. So I'm just wondering, if you could tell our viewers, because I know a lot of people probably wouldn't know who you are, of what kind of YouTube channel you run and what kind of content you make.
Well, my content wise, as you can already tell directly from the title, but more in depth, I pretty much just take the time to rip any DVDs, VCDs, and CDs in my collection, essentially video disc, and just converting them online for anyone to see. And this usually just kind of ranges with stuff that you may have already seen already, but maybe in a different quality or different presentation, or otherwise things that otherwise you've never seen before, like media that for the longest time I've wished was on YouTube. That well, if no one's really gonna put it up online, then well, I guess I got to do the searching myself.
Yeah,
That was kind of
good
the reason,
attitude.
and that was yeah, but that was like something I thought of to myself right after I was done with my national exams. I won't specify which is it, but I was spending a lot of time in the library, and kind of a bit of a guilty pleasure. I would just kind of sneak to the AB section and look at the DVDs and see what's on there, and realize there are some titles that I haven't revisited in ages ago that I wondered if anyone's put it online yet at some point, and looking at further on YouTube and what it had at the time, and if people haven't put it yet, then well, I was like thinking, I got a figure of trying to being the first person to see if I can present it for the people that otherwise remember it just as fondly as me. So yeah, that's why I gave it a shot, and I just kind of started it off with pretty much original video titles from a now defunct video company that was in Singapore called Innoform Media, which
All
had a
right.
mix, which actually specialized in not just producing their own content, but they also distributed a lot of titles from international overseas, Australia included. I will tell a little bit more about the Wiggles and that later because that's also part of the catalog under a different brand that they had. But yeah, they distributed and they produced their own titles as well. And I started off just trying to work my way, putting their video originals online, and yeah, just slowly working my way with video titles like that before I eventually moved on to the more risky ones that would be more
Yeah.
easily flaggable by YouTube for copyright. I can.
Oh, I hate it when they do. Yeah, I hate it when you get those risky ones. I
Yeah,
just avoid anything from like Paramount and Viacom.
yeah.
They're very touchy.
Yeah, the thing is, I kind of would have started off with Drive at the beginning. I would have started off using Drive, but then again, I was like thinking, nah, I was like, I'm not in a good financial situation to, add on the subscription. So I decided to move on to archive.org, and that's where I'm posting much of my stuff. Unless Archive actually flags it down, then the drives and how much space I have will have to be the next best thing, or Mega if it would be possible. So that's why I transfer some of my stuff around there every so now and then. But yeah, even then, even if I don't get to share it online, it just even then if I don't get to share it on YouTube specifically, I still have other platforms, and I'm just glad that there are so many people out there that still remember these things just as much as I did. I think maybe it kind of is cheat. Maybe kind of what cheats my channel a little bit to be a little bit more recognized is if I kind of put out versions of things that they see before, but in otherwise there may be a I don't know judge you be the judge for that, a better or worse quality of it, depending on how it's presented. Because
Yeah.
I want to kind of elaborate a little bit more about again the VCD format, because I know when it comes to people in Australia and other Western territories, they may be more or less foreign with the term itself. Sure, they've heard of VHS tapes, but VCDs. Well, I'll
Yeah.
I'll be the one to explain it, being from one of the countries that used to have it quite
Yeah, well,
advanced.
that's interesting because it's like we're not really that familiar with VCDs, and then I know coming from for you coming from Singapore, it must be a very unique kind of system. So, what exactly is it? Because is it like a DVD, but just like I'm
Well,
just
you
not
can
sure.
imagine. Well, I will just give you the idea. Imagine if the experience of a VHS tape was on a DVD, but you didn't have to rewind it, and that's where the program plays. And yeah, the quality is still around there, but if you have it actually from the source masters, arguably the VCDs can offer a little bit of a better quality than the DVDs, and you won't have to worry about the wearing out and everything itself. Like it never happens. But the downside with the VCDs is that while on a VHS tape, you can kind of like store more than like up to like 3 hours of content, almost as much as a DVD. The VCD, the downside is if it features more than 75 minutes, it'll have to be split into two different discs,
Oh,
which
right.
can affect movies as well. I mean, one thing is a little bit of inconvenience, but for the most part, we were looking into finding a more convenient way of playing our videos without having to rewind and do all the hassle. And I think that's the reason why VHS tapes died out in Asia faster than they did in the rest of the world,
Yeah,
in a
'cause
way.
in Australia, ours died out after in the late 2000s. So it's
Like
like,
at the really far end, which I was like honestly surprised that such a format exists, especially when I grew up and I saw these things coming out. I was like thinking, wow, that's something you guys had, but
yeah. Well, I was part of the
but
last generation that even
yeah,
had VHS tapes. So it's like, yeah. So I'm part of
yeah,
that
but
special group. Yeah.
yeah, but even then, I figured the way that VCDs also died out at the same time was like you already have DVDs making the rise as well, and the introduction here was a bit slow, but it got there, And once people saw, better qualities and better technical specifications and the way that you can do more things with a DVD than a VCD,
Yeah.
yeah, that's also when it met its demise. But still, it doesn't excuse it from being a special little charm as well. And for how many things that really can be on the VCD that never made it to DVD, it really proves something. It really makes it feel like you're holding on to something really special. And honestly, I have a bunch of them that I've recently, as part of my channel, that I've kind of recollected as well. Some titles that I've never seen in ages before that I could get back to as well, including rare titles that I've always wanted to have. Like I'm so fortunate to have them in my collection, and better yet, share them with everybody. Like again, when it's safe, that is, like you don't want to get flagged for copyright or anything, but when the time
Mm.
is right and when the space is right, don't just keep it to yourself. Like at the best as you can, just share it with everybody. Like let everybody know that that's the beauty of the format, and that's something that they could have experienced too. Like they didn't imagine that something like this good that was always on VHS tapes could be on VCDs, and hey, in a way, it looked a little bit better than maybe what you've been watching all this time. Who knows?
Yeah, could be better. I mean, who knows, man? Exactly,
Yeah.
who knows? But anyway, when I think we'll wrap up shortly. But before we do, I would like to ask you, because I've said this to some of my other guests, what is your favorite Wiggles song?
Oh, my favorite Wiggles song. That's a tough one. I feel like so many people have said it really bends down to so many classics. I feel like so many people around have said like, things like Fruit Salad and Hot Potato. And make no mistake, these are iconic songs in their own ways. But I will say though, if I have to pick a favorite, it's got to be from Toot Toot, and that's Do the Wiggle Do the Wiggle Groove. Like
Oh
that's such a
yeah,
bop. And I gotta say, when they reintroduced that song in like 2020 or somewhere with the new generations, I was like shocked. I was like, I didn't imagine like this of a deep cut from the Wiggles can now become such a modern fan favorite, and the fact that they're now doing it is really amazing to still keep the song's legacy alive. Like for better or for worse, whenever they bring back an old song from the vaults and that people haven't heard in a long time, you wonder if they're gonna do it justice. But me, I'm like, as long as you respect it and
it's always 50
respect it
50.
and
Yeah.
respect it, it's amazing, and I'm so glad they did, and I just love it. I just feel like that's such a great song to just get up and move along and just feel the energy and just get grooving, and
Foggy.
I really do. I really love it.
Yeah, it's a great. Yeah, I love it too for that reason. It's a
Yeah.
song to get up and groove to, and yeah, they do a lot of songs like that. I love it when they do. See, that's what makes the Wiggles so good. It's like their songs are just so, oh, they're amazing. Like their songs are just so catchy, and I guess that's why they gained such a huge popularity, including us,
Yeah,
easily, easily.
indeed.
Oh man, I wish we had more time to talk about all of this, but obviously we're pretty much coming to the end of today's episode. So we're going to wrap things up here. And I'm just going to say thank you so much, SG, for kindly taking the time to chat with us. It was a privilege, mate. And I hope to have you back on very, very soon.
Well, anytime, Joey. And look, I know it's been a while for us to kind of discuss this time to be here, but really, thank you once again for coming, for just inviting me over. Well, I would say that looking at the podcast, I was the one that you kind of volunteered that if I wanted to,
Yeah,
I was wondering if I could have a chance. So
I know you wanted to be on, and I wanted to make sure you were on because you obviously played a big role in my Fandom productions, and I feel like it's important to let you, tell your side of the story as well because I think it's interesting because a lot of people who may not know who you are definitely will get to know you more better now after
yeah.
appearing on the show. So I hope that works out. I will attach the
Well, it
channel
definitely
details
will.
in the
And
comments. Yeah.
no worries, man. All good.
But yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, SG, for taking
Hey.
the time to chat with us. And also, thank you to all of our viewers for today's episode. If you liked what you're hearing, please keep following me on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, etc. And also don't forget to subscribe to the channel and to hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date with brand new episodes. And until then, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and thank you, SG, for kindly taking the time with us for today's episode. Would you like to do the honors and do a sign off?
Sure thing. And until then, everyone, keep on wiggling.
Keep on wiggling. Woohoo!
Bye now.
Bye.